Hello everybody, my name is Kevin with Alpha One IT and welcome to Mastering Windows Server 2022 Core Edition. Hopefully, your go-to series learning how to operate and manage from the command line. And with that, let's dive into our topic. In this video, we're going to be covering installing Windows Server 2022 Core from the command line, because Core is only command line. We're going to cover the Microsoft Server operating system setup, the Windows OS installer, and basic OS configuration for Core. And with that, we've jumped right into our virtual machine here. So if you have the availability, I would definitely recommend you do something like Hyper-V or VirtualBox, so that way you guys can follow along with the video series, get some hands-on keyboard time, and really get some repetition whenever you're doing this kind of stuff, because that's the best way to learn, is by following along with this and doing it yourself. But before we dive into the installation, let's talk about what Windows Server Core Edition is and why you might want to use it. Basically what it comes down to is you're going to have a minimal interface. So kind of unlike the desktop experience, Core Edition does not have a graphical user interface, or as it's known in the industry as a GUI. Basically, this reduces the attack surface and the resources that are going to be need to use by the server in order to be able to run it. It runs a little bit more efficiently. You're going to have improved security with fewer components. You're not running near as many services. You're not running a lot of the stuff in the background that could be open and available. So you are going to have fewer opportunities for security vulnerabilities. And another big piece is also going to be performance. You have a little bit less overhead on your actual server and some of the applications that are going to be running, because you don't have that GUI running on top of it. Basically, the ideal cases that you want to use for this is basically any server that you can run Core on. I highly recommend you run Core for it, because if you're running virtual machines on a cluster on a node or something like that, it's going to reduce the overhead of the node completely. So your Active Directory, your DNS, your DHCP, Hyper-V, application servers, file servers, anything like that, anything and everything that you can run as Core, highly recommend. Minimum requirements for this: your basic 64-bit processor, 2 gigabytes of memory or RAM, and then 32 gigabytes of storage space on the hard drive. Now you can technically get away with a little bit less on the hard drive, but keep in mind Core is only about 4 gigabytes smaller than the desktop experience, so even Microsoft recommends 32 gigs only. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into this. We're going to kind of breeze through this, because if you have installed Windows before, it's going to look super familiar for you. So you want to set your preferences here. We're going to click Next. And we're going to click Install Now, because it's going to be a new installation. It's going to go ahead and it's going to get the setup starting. And what we're going to do here is we have basically two options for Core. We have Standard Evaluation and we have Data Center. These two are the Core versions. This one is going to be the desktop. So we're going to go ahead and select the Standard Evaluation. We're going to click Next, because I am running the evaluation. I'm not running full-blown version of it. You're going to read through all these terms and agreements. You're going to select the checkbox and hit Next. We're going to do custom on this one, because we're going to be installing the operating system. We're not doing an in-place upgrade or anything like that. We're doing a custom. We're going to click New, because this is going to go ahead and automatically create all the partitions for us. So as you can see, it's created the system, the MSR, and the primary. If you don't click New on this, there is a chance that those partitions are going to get out of order, and it makes it an absolute pain in the butt to manage and kind of work with the server a little bit later on in here. So we're going to let this go ahead and run through its process, and we're going to fast forward in time, because I can time skip a little bit on this, and we'll see you whenever it ends up loading up. Alright, so after that has finished installing, you're going to be greeted with this window right here. This is going to be telling you that you need to change the administrator password before you can log into the machine. So keep in mind, if you are running server core, this is what you're going to see a lot of. You're going to see a lot of command line, a lot of PowerShell, Windows, that kind of stuff. No real GUI onto it. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then we're going to punch in a password for our administrator account. You want to try to keep this easy for you to remember, secure enough that nobody else is going to guess it. So passwords, passphrases, those are always recommended. So password's been changed. We're going to hit OK. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to load into our command line here. And it's going to run sconfig, which is going to be server configurations. This was something that was going to be deprecated a long time ago from Microsoft. However, it seems that with server, core, they're still keeping this around for a little while. So instead of having that nice GUI with Server Manager, you are now locked into this little box right here. So some of the basic configuration that we want to do is we're going to start from the top there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the domain and work group. We'll leave that right now rather as a work group, but if we were to be joining this to a domain, we'd go ahead and we'd select option 1, hit enter, and then we go, hey, we want to join a domain. We're going to hit D, go in here, and then you would type in the name of the domain. So if we did test.local, which if you watch my other video series, that's one of the current domains that I have up and running. But right now, since we're not going to be joining the domain, we're going to leave that blank and we're going to hit enter, and that's going to be canceling out of that. So we're going to go to number 2, which is going to be computer name. And we're going to name this one test DCE01. And then we go ahead and hit enter. And then it says, hey, these changes are going to take effect. It's going to rename it from that computer name there to test DCE01. We're going to go ahead and hit no. We're going to do in, hit enter. And then right now, the pending name change, it will take into effect whenever you actually reboot the computer, but for right now, we're good. So as you can see, remote management, if we wanted to go ahead and we can go into remote management, hey, we can change some of these. Do you want to enable to respond to ping, disable respond to ping, actually enable remote management completely, or disable it? So we're going to leave this, and then we're going to go to number 7. Whenever you're in a production environment, most of the time, if you don't have access to the host that you're going to be running your virtual machines on, you want to go ahead and you want to enable this. And then you want to do the more secure option, of course, never take the less secure route of allow only clients running a remote desktop with network level authentication. So we're going to hit 1, and now we have remote desktop or RDP enabled on here. We're going to hit enter, and then if you wanted to, you could go ahead and you can open up the RDP, and then you could remote into the server if it's running something like DHCP on your computer. So that's going to bring us to one of the next things. One of the next things that we definitely want to look at is going to be the network settings. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to find that. That is going to be number 8. And as you can see right now, it has an EPIPA. So if we wanted to, we could go ahead and leave that. And then we're going to go to number 15. And that's going to exit to command line PowerShell. This, if you're running on anything you should recognize, it's going to be icon-config. And then we're going to type in renew. And then we're going to see if we can pull one down, because currently I am running on a DHCP for my network. And we can see now that we have been issued an address. It's going to be 192.168.1.40. And so what we can do is we can go exit. And it's going to bring back up into the sconfig. And then we're going to go back into network settings, which is going to be option 8. We're going to hit enter. And you can see we have the address of 192.168.1.40. So we're going to hit 1. We're going to go into this adapter. And then we're going to, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and just exit this. You can set the network adapter address, which is going to set it to a static address. You can set the DNS servers to be the DNS servers of whatever you want, or you could clear the DNS server settings. We're going to go to number 1, and then we're going to set this to static. And then it's going to say, hey, what address do you want to use? Well, I know that 192.168.1.40 is going to be a usable address because it's already currently assigned to this machine. So I can go ahead and just reuse that. So we're going to do 192.168. If I don't do commas and I do periods, .1.40. We're going to hit enter. And then if you wanted to, you could go ahead and hit enter here, because it knows already that it's a 24 subnet on this one, or a 255.255.255.0. So site notation is 24. So we're going to go ahead and leave that, and we're going to hit enter. And then the default gateway for me is going to be 192.168.1.1. And then it lets it know it released the DHCP address, enabled a static, and then it set the gateway and set the address. So now, again, if we go into our PowerShell command line and we type in ipconfig, you can see that we still have that IP address. However, now it is static. So if we go all, you can see IPv4 address 192.168.140 is the preferred on here. Then we have our default gateway 192.168.1.1. So we go ahead and we type exit again. This will bring us back into sconfig. And if we go into network settings, we're going to go to number 8. And then we're going to select that adapter again. We're going to 1. And then we're going to set our DNS servers because our DNS servers need to be set. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set these to Google's DNS server, which is going to be 8.8.8. And then a secondary one we can also set to Google if we wanted to. And it's going to be 8.8.4.4. And we're going to do that. And now our DNS servers have been set as well. Now we want to look at our date and time. We're going to hit 9. And this does bring up a GUI. So if you're used to using any type of graphical, this is going to come up because it's very low usage on the machine. So this brings up date and time. We can do time zone. We're going to change from Pacific. I am Eastern time zone. So we're select Eastern, hit OK, hit OK. Now our time zone is set. If we did have a product key code and we wanted to activate Windows, we could go to number 11. And then we could go display license information to see what is currently going on here right now. Like I said, this is evaluation. So it's up and running for 180 days. So that gives us that information. We'll go back into activation. If we wanted to actually activate Windows, we could hit number 2. But being that this is going to be a currently evaluation server, it's not going to allow us to actually activate Windows because of that. You can see on here, activating Windows standard evaluation, good to go. There's a little bit of an error. That's fine. We're going to hit enter. And then one more time, we're going to Windows activation, install product key code, enter the key code, and you're good there. To get out of there, you can hit Control C. Once again, exit. Yes, we're going to terminate the batch job because we're not actually activating it. And we're going to go into sconfig one more time. Now, the one thing that you always want to make sure that you do before you do anything else with a machine, other than reboot it to give it the computer name, is you want to install your Windows updates. You can go ahead and reboot it now if you wanted to go ahead and apply it to the new computer name. But for me, for the sake of time and everything else, we're going to go ahead and we're going to install Windows updates. So we're going to select number 6. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do whatever option that you choose, but I'm going to choose option 1. We're going to do all quality updates. It's going to go ahead and it's going to search and see what kind of updates are available. Now that it's finished searching for the updates, you can see that we have a whole bunch of updates that we can do here. So if we wanted to, we could individualize, pick out some of the single updates, or we could just do all the updates. We could do no updates, or if we hit enter, that's going to cancel, which is the equivalence of no updates to select. So that is going to do it for this video. I wanted to try to make this as short and sweet as possible because I know this is kind of very basic for a lot of people, but I just wanted to touch and highlight some of the most points that I could on here. So I'm going to try to keep these videos as short as possible. I don't want a whole bunch of BS that's going to go into them and just kind of keep people, in the know. But, if you guys did make it all the way through this video, if you guys found some value in this video, hey, please, it's a big deal for me for you guys to be able to like the video, for you to subscribe to the video. I want to try to grow this and try to reach as many people as possible. So if you guys can, please, and if you gain something from this, awesome. I'm happy. So we're going to continue on with these series. We're going to pump out a couple more videos, and hopefully you guys will be able to learn something new and learn how to manage some of these Windows Server 2022's core editions on these, and we'll see you in the next video.